Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Recently, I went to Six Flags Great Adventure. I got to ride roller coasters such as El Toro, Kingda Ka, and Jersey Devil Coaster. And today I'm talking about why Kingda Ka is my favorite of the bunch. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you know when new coaster content comes out. Now, there are two things I must point out quickly. First of all, I'm not saying just because Kingda Ka is my favorite means El Toro is bad, or Nitro is bad, or anything like that. I really just enjoy Kingda Ka a lot. And ultimately, the reasoning will come down to I like Kingda Ka better. It's not going to be the most concrete reasons. Another important thing to note, I have not ridden Medusa, formerly Bizarro, yet, the floorless coaster. However, my favorite floorless coaster, also Medusa, at Discovery Kingdom is not quite there with the best at Great Adventure. So what I'm going to do now, I'll discuss Kingda Ka, what I love about it, and then I'll talk about the other roller coasters at the park and why I think Kingda Ka is the best coaster at Great Adventure. Let's begin with Kingda Ka itself. My experience with this was running straight to it because it was testing in the morning, and given my experiences with Top Thrill Dragster, I expected it was going to be pretty hard to get on it. Sure enough, it was. After sitting in the car, the ride broke down. I stayed in the line for about hour 20 minutes because I'm crazy and I just wanted to ride Kingda Ka. But eventually, it did open, got front row ride, and the overall experience, first of all, I will point out, not super relevant, but the walk through Golden Kingdom is actually really nice and quite immersive. And I do like the use of foliage that's all around the area, a cool jungle aesthetic. Very different from Top Thrill Dragster, but just as good, if not better, in my opinion. For the actual ride experience, the launch itself, that's the first part. It has no traffic light like Dragster, so I thought, okay, I won't know when we launch, that's going to be terrifying. However, it was quite easy to tell, and you can kind of feel when the launch starts, even disregarding the hydraulic noise you'll always hear before it. So it's not as sudden as Dragster despite the lack of a traffic light. So the launch itself is not quite as punchy as Dragster at the beginning. However, it is much more intense. For those who are unaware, this coaster goes only 8 miles per hour faster than Top Thrill Dragster, which feels like a lot on here. It feels like you're going 20 miles per hour faster. Part of that is due to the intensity, and it's a very intense launch. It feels much longer than Top Thrill Dragster, the first launch track, and then once you go up the hill, the height, you can feel how tall it is. You can feel how high up you are, and you'll have some time to savor the view for a second. It's not a stunning view or anything, but it's quite interesting. And then you start cresting down, picking up speed again, and it's equally terrifying. And then you get to that airtime hill. I guess you get a little bit of floater. Some complain you don't. But ultimately, it doesn't matter because the sensation you're feeling is getting pushed into the back of your seat because of how fast the ride is. There have been videos of POVs where you can see the people and their faces flapping like crazy. That's what happens. And since I was on this ride in 50-degree weather, my face was pretty much purple by the end. My hair was completely pushed back. It was crazier than Dragster. When comparing the two rides, I think Dragster, overall, has some strengths over it, such as the fact that the launch is a bit punchier, and it is smoother technically, but it doesn't really matter too much because of how powerful the launch is. And honestly, the slight bumpiness to Kingda Ka, which honestly is hard to notice, more contributes to how intense and powerful the roller coaster is. So I actually do like that Kingda Ka has a bit of that bumpiness to it. It enhances the ride rather than taking away. Another thing I should talk about, I guess, is the restraints. A lot of people talk about how Kingda Ka's are way worse because they're over the shoulder. And I guess technically they're worse than Dragsters, but you don't really notice. I mean, if you get stapled on Kingda Ka, I don't think that's a sensation you're going to be thinking about. And I was not stapled. It just is something that I wanted to point out because people compare the two rides saying Dragster's much better because of restraints and smoothness. I honestly think the smoothness is something that both helps and hurts Dragster, which is why overall, these rides are pretty much tied for me. That's quite an accomplishment for Kingda Ka, as Top Thrill Dragster is my third favorite launch coaster. and now Kingda Ka could be third. They're pretty much neck and neck. So that's what I'm going to say about Kingda Ka. I love the ride. It's short, but it sure doesn't feel short. It feels long, with incredible forces, speed, and just an unbelievable, intense, crazy ride experience. So why is it better than Toro? Let's get into El Toro next, because I know that's the roller coaster everyone likes more than Kingda Ka. And maybe I should not have gone in with the mindset thinking this is going to be best roller coaster ever. Well, I didn't quite do that. I thought it'd be best wooden coaster though, and it probably was. But the ride itself, I will say I got back row, and I got some rides closer to the middle but more frontish. The back row ride was actually my least favorite. I know that sounds crazy, but I thought the airtime was actually pretty much equal, if not slightly weaker. And I know that's basically the strength of El Toro. So it might be surprising that the row everyone talks about was not my favorite. And the other thing, that was the one ride that gave me some pretty bad roughness. The other rides I had, not too bad. But that one, it was a weird sensation, as if I was getting punched in the stomach, because my abdomen area was where I felt the jerkiness. And normally it's not there in the way that El Toro had it, so that was something that did kind of knock the ride for me, because even though I had much better rides, I can't say a roller coaster based on just the best ride is where I rank it in my opinion. I had to consider all different experiences I've had. That ride was still good, because let's talk about the strengths of El Toro. It has probably one of the best first drops on any roller coaster. I think it seriously rivals the best RMC drops, and it's crazy in any row for me. And then the first airtime hill is, by far, the strongest ejector I've ever experienced. And the hills following that are also quite strong. And there's smaller hills scattered throughout the ride that have similar experiences and sensations. And overall, I think the ride is excellent. There's slight jerkiness here and there sometimes, but it really didn't take away from the ride for me. And at its best, El Toro is an airtime machine with some strong pacing, and overall a ride I really enjoyed. However, I just can't bring myself to say I liked it more than Kingda Ka. Part of me wants to, because I know a mob will come after me for saying Kingda Ka is the better coaster, but I just did not like El Toro as much. I'm not really sure what else to say about it. I did enjoy El Toro a lot. The best rides were the best wooden coaster rides I've ever had. Not that that's saying much, because Ghost Rider is the only competition pretty much that I've been on. But I did like the airtime a lot. The first drop, top notch, and the ride is long and enjoyable. There's some minor bumpy patches on some rides I had that are the only really nitpick flaws I can point out, but the reason I bring up those nitpicks is because I do want to try to justify why I like Kingda Ka more, but it's hard to justify. I just preferred, even though I love airtime, I preferred the craziness of Kingda Ka's launch, power, and intensity to the ejector airtime and drop of El Toro. I'll also quickly mention Jersey Devil, because that is another potential contender, I guess. It's my first RMC single rail, and in my opinion, it is by far the weakest of RMC coasters, but it is good. The restraints did not bother me. The first drop was pretty strong, and I like the inversions and some airtime moments. And it is a pretty long ride, in my opinion. It felt like that anyway. The mid-course break room was in full effect, but it didn't really bother me too much. So overall, my judgment is that Kingda Ka is my favorite roller coaster. However, this is entirely based on the fact that I rode all three of these major rides in 50-degree weather. So, if I were to go back to this park in summer, I'll definitely give all of them another chance and see if maybe rankings change. But for now, Kingda Ka might be in my top 10 coasters of all time, and El Toro probably top 20, 15, but it is pretty close, and overall, Kingda Ka is my favorite roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. Thank you for watching. I hope you did not hate this video. I know it's a very controversial take, but I just wanted to share with the world how much Kingda Ka is really great, and no one really talks about it, but I think it's an excellent ride. I encourage everyone to go ride it if they get the chance, and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'll see you next time.